Hi everybody, welcome to February in Canada, and this is my version of gardening in Canada in February, specifically Zone 6 down in Southern Ontario. So it is, I think, with the wind chill feeling like minus 20 something Celsius out there this weekend. But I'm really excited for spring. It's sunny. It's been a beautiful winter. It's been a beautiful January. It's been cold and we've had snow, but it's been sunny and it's been beautiful. I'm not complaining. But I'm excited for spring and I'm excited to grow things. So here I am on the floor of my office with my little seedlings. And I started a few things, predominantly just onions and leeks and celery. And it's actually what I'm doing right now, doing a little bit of a celery transplant. I'm putting them out, so I'm going to take you guys along for the ride and just kind of walk you through what I'm doing and what I'm using, which is predominantly stuff I have lying around, just to kind of show you that, you don't have to have any particular specialized equipment. You do need some stuff. You do need lights if you do want to start vegetables indoors in this zone, but you don't need a whole lot more than that. So, join me as I talk about my seedlings. So over here, I basically just dumped out all of my celery. Tango celery is the seed that I was using this year. And I just kind of broadcasted them over into this pot. I broadcasted them, and then when they sprouted, I left them in there until they developed their first set of true leaves, which they have. I dumped this all out here, and I am left with this mess. But because the seed starting mix is so loose, and I have this mixture of coco coir with perlite and vermiculite, they just come apart super easily. So I just kind of dumped it, and then I just sort of teased them apart gently, and then I'm left with these individual celery plants, celery seedlings, and they look something like this. Let me pick out one of these guys to show you kind of what size the plant is by now, and it's got a beautiful little root on it. So I'm just going to be potting them up. Now I have too many. I started too many, and I'm not going to have room for all of these by the time that I start the rest of my vegetables. So I'm sort of using the Dixie cups that I've had left over from a party, and I actually potted other things in them in previous years. You can see I put foxgloves in here, I think last year or 2 years ago. So I just keep reusing these, and they just sit in my shed over the season. But I've kind of squeezed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the edges of this container here. I think it's going to be okay for them in here for hopefully another month or so. And then we'll be into March, and then depending on what's going on outside, I can either put them in a clear container, something like that, and have them on my sunny patio where they'll be protected from the worst of the frost and cold as I start to kind of bring them outside and expose them, or put them into my cold frame, or I'll just have to get more lights and wait for them to sort of keep growing indoors if it's too cold. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I might give some away. I might sell some on Facebook Marketplace, or just give them away on Facebook Marketplace if I have too many. But for now, I have the room because it's very early in the season. My growing shelf is sort of, you can see that it's really just these two bottom shelves, and I still have 2 top shelves up there that are empty, because at this point the only thing that really makes sense is onions and celery, and I do have some of this perennial red veined sorrel, which I'm very excited about. It's little, and I'm probably gonna have to pot this up and pick them out in the next maybe 2-3 weeks. Maybe I'll get away with that. I'm just really going by feel here. I did make a mistake. I made a mistake, and I was starting seeds that I knew I needed to start in January, like onion and like celery, and I I had this pack of seeds, and I got this perennial kale, which I'm super excited about. And I just started sowing it and starting it without thinking about the fact that I don't need to start kale this early. So I'm gonna be sitting here with a bunch of pretty big kale plants, but we'll deal. We'll figure it out. So, but here we are with all of these little celery seedlings. So I'm just kind of pricking them out and putting them about 5 per. I'm going to water them in shortly. They haven't been watered in, but this is kind of how I go about it. So put in a little bit of all-purpose potting mix. Nothing special about this. I'm not using the seed starting stuff anymore because they're already germinated and they're already out here. So now they can get used to, the regular stuff. And they just need to kind of keep on thriving and surviving. So prick out one of these guys. And boop. There you go. You can use a little stick or a pen or a dibbler, I think they call it. But, I'm not too precious about it. My finger's just fine. Make some holes. Find the nice, strong, solid roots. And just bloop. And one more. Maybe I'll do 2 more in there because I'm really trying to squeeze out as much space as I can. And I'm kind of tossing aside some of the ones that are a little bit smaller, like these guys. This isn't really much, so I'm just going to, we have like this guy here, like doesn't need to be potted up. But a lot of these are beautiful and strong, and they didn't seem to mind being crowded at all. The same thing with onions, by the way. I've seen a lot of advice, and this is how I do it as well, that says that you really don't need to individually create separate onion plugs. I just did. This is Delft Perennial Leek. Oh, sorry, this is Delft Perennial Leek. I'm really excited about this. But, just broadcast them in a single pot and let them grow really densely because they're really thin and they don't really start bulbing out until much later. But anything of the onion variety, so what do I have here? We've got a Stuttgarten onion. So this is a classic, I think a yellow fleshed onion. Just broadcast them. They'll sprout. You can see the little seed pods are still stuck to the top. And they'll just keep on growing happily. Water from the bottom if you can. Encourage that root growth. And they'll be fine. They're okay. Cluttered like that. Just squeezed together. They don't mind. So there's another little pot, and I'll do one more. And just pick out some of the strongest roots. It's a really nice one. And the smell. It just smells like a kitchen garden, just the smell of celery. It's incredible that you have these tiny little baby plants that are just barely living, barely sprouted, barely existing, barely looking like celery at all. But the smell is just, it's lovely. It's so lovely, and it's such a nice treat just being able to get my hands in the soil, smell some celery leaves with their nice, bright, soft green foliage in the middle of, February with minus 26 outside. You can probably hear my HVAC, my heating going in the house because it's freezing. It's not that bad, but it is cold. But it's such a treat to be able to do this, and I'm just using Dixie cups. I'm just using regular old potting mix. I get the Pro Mix, the really large pack from Canadian Tire, because it's just the best value. If you have space for it, if you have a spare closet or a shed or you know, a corner of the room where it's not going to bother you. Get the bigger stuff because it's just so much better value, and it will just sit there. I'll wait for you until next year when you don't use it up. It's fine. Use the same stuff for your indoor plants, you know. And there we go. So these guys are going to get watered in. I'm going to squeeze them onto this tray. It should fit. Should be 3 across. It's not ideal, but we make do. As long as they have good contact with light, if everything is getting light on it, you want this is an LED, so you really want it as close as possible. You just want a couple of inches clearing to the plants. So, you know, this isn't ideal because now the onions and the kale are taller and these guys are smaller, but you know, I think that it will have to do. I think it will be okay. Alternatively, what I'm gonna do as things get bigger, I try to have the same height of the plants on one tray so that the light can correspond to the levels of the plants on there. But I'm gonna get these watered in, and I'm probably just going to maybe squeeze the rest of these into a pot just to see what happens to them as an experiment, how well they grow in comparison to the ones that have had a little bit more room. So maybe I'll pick something. I'll grab one of these because I did bring these in from the shed, so I always save these little nursery pots that I get whenever I get a plant. Get some of this potting mix, just like that. Okay, and same thing. I'm just gonna pop them in here. Okay, so here we are. I've packed a few more plants, and this is what I'm left with. Not too bad, actually. I think by the time I kind of sorted out through the ones that were very, I just had really tiny root systems. Like these guys, I just felt were a little bit scraggly. So, you know, it's okay. A few of these seedlings are just going to go to compost. No big deal. Or maybe I'll just feed them to my bunnies. And then this guy's gonna go on the shelf. They need a really good watering because they look very sad right now, wilted already. You kind of want to do this quickly because obviously you want to keep the roots wet. Celery likes a lot of moisture. It is predominantly water if you really think about the plant itself and the vegetable. So that's really it. So that's my celery potted up. I'm just gonna do a little bit of I'm gonna give them a really good drink, and then I'm actually going to start my pepper seeds because if you haven't done that yet, then sometime in February is a really good time to start your peppers. Hold off on your tomatoes. I started my tomatoes earlier last year in February, and it was fine, but I just find that there's really no reason for it. I'm definitely going to wait until later in March because I don't think that it gave me any fruit any sooner. The plants were bigger when they went out into the garden, but they didn't fruit much sooner anyway. So I'm going to wait well into March, late March, to start my tomatoes because they grow fast. Peppers need time. So I'm going to be starting my peppers today and enjoying watching my onions, my leeks, and my celery grow. Have fun gardening.